Art-Centric Podcast with Rafi and Klee.
Hola, you amazing artists. It's Rafi.
And Klee.
And today we're going to talk about something that is very interesting in the podcast is your art in a vacuum?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? To be honest, I wrote this down and I was like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. And this morning I can't remember what I'm going to talk about. So I figured we'd just go through the process of really thinking about why you would believe that your art is in a vacuum and what that exactly means. Obviously,
I think that can mean different things to different folks.
Yeah, it could. Basically, the way that I'm approaching it during this podcast is where you feel like you're in the vacuum of space. Essentially, that you are putting your stuff out there and
it's not reaching anyone.
Yeah, nothing is happening.
Even if it happens to be traveling at light speed.
Exactly. It's kind of like, we all know that in space there are no sounds. And that's what it sometimes feels like when you are approaching this thing and putting your stuff out there.
I feel like this is kind of adjacent to your art in a bubble, which is, in my mind, that's like where you've reached an audience, but you're having trouble expanding your audience kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to Mary and Adrian and Tish and Sue.
Hi, you guys. So for everybody listening to this at home, we have our amazing Rogue Artist family here, and they're going to be giving us their insight, questions, and anything else that is just brilliant that comes from them. So if you hear us reading comments, that's who we're reading comments from. So Tish says, my glitter is in my vacuum. Does that count?
Well, if there's glitter in your vacuum, then that's better than a vacuum without glitter.
Yeah. Just to be clear, it's not like you got vacuumed up and you're trapped in a vacuum. Although that could be a good analogy as well. Mm-hmm. Like you decided to put yourself out there and then you got vacuumed up and, then nobody could see you.
Yeah, I guess however you choose to visualize it, right? We don't really want our art to exist in a vacuum. We want people to encounter it. That's the goal.
Hi, Mary. How are you? Thank you for being here. I'm sorry to hear about your husband.
Yes.
Big, giant hugs and love out to you.
Yes, most definitely.
So let's get back to what I think it was that I wanted to discuss when I was thinking about the vacuum stuff, right? So you're in the vacuum of space. You decide that you're going to put your artwork out there. You decide that you built a website. You decide that you were going to do this whole art career thing. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you start posting, right? You read somewhere or watch a video where somebody in a bandana is telling you, go ahead and post your stuff on social media. Don't be afraid to share your stuff. And then you start doing it. You decide to sign up for a show and nothing happens.
So you feel like you're in internet Siberia,
yeah.
Or you're not getting traction at shows.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing is happening. And that kind of thing could be really discouraging for someone, especially because when you first get started, or even if you've been doing this for a while and you decide that you're going to I'm going to really, really put my stuff out there and I'm really, really going to jump into this with both feet. I think that there's this misconception that if you do that all of a sudden things just pick up. Next thing you know, everybody knows who you are. And the truth is that it doesn't work that way. I think about that because we've been doing this for a while and we literally release our content and art and everything everywhere, in person, online, several different platforms. And, I have my calendars that I posted, and it's not one of those things where you post a calendar, you're like, oh, I'm selling a calendar for 2024 and you post it and it's one and done. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to repeatedly make sure that you're sharing that and have some kind of plan put together for sharing the artwork that you're sharing more than once.
It's like adding purple food coloring into a swimming pool, right? One drop of purple food coloring is not going to turn the swimming pool purple. 2 isn't going to do it. 100 probably isn't going to do it if we're talking about a swimming pool.
A swimming pool is really big.
It's really big.
We could have probably used a fish tank.
Let's make it a fish tank because 100 drops is going to get you some
It's gonna
purple color.
get you some traction.
But basically what I'm trying to illustrate is like, this is like, picture each thing you're doing as like a drop of purple food coloring in a fish tank. And like, if you're wanting the water to be purple, you're going to be repeatedly adding the purple.
Yeah. Better to think about a fish tank or even a cup.
Yeah,
I would
sorry
say like
for
a
that
cup of water.
overwhelming illustration of a swimming
You're not
pool.
going to sell any calendars unless you put a
1 million
bazillion.
purple drops. No. Yeah, let's scale it down a little bit.
Tish said, I feel like everyone tries to put me in a box. This is the art you create. You can only do that, flop that, and all the things may not be great. I'm sorry, I'm butchering
May
this.
not be great at all the things, but oh, flopping well.
Yeah.
Here's the neat thing: if you're doing one thing and you want to do, and you are doing many things, and one thing has traction, sometimes you can use the thing that has traction to also talk about the other things that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And that's the beauty of it, right? So like, to be honest with you, Tish, I don't think that everyone tries to put you in a box. I think that the people that try, because we have that in our own brain, right? I remember in the beginning, like I wanted to do a different series than what I had done because I got relatively popular from doing the Me and It series and my Seasons of Change. People really, really loved my trees. And I love creating my trees, but that wasn't all I wanted to create. And so I remember, getting started at the market with all these trees and like people loved them and they were all different sizes and different prices. And so like people started to come out and look for the trees specifically. And I was kind of afraid to like share anything else that I did because it felt like, well, if it's not, the tree is the thing that's popular. And if it's not the tree, it's going to confuse them. I mean, think of how many times you've heard artist gurus say, like, stay specific to one thing because if not, you're going to confuse your audience.
Humans just aren't that easily confused.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I never had... I think the biggest hurdle was my own brain and my own thinking of what would happen if I did this thing. Mm-hmm. So, you're saying flop that and flopping well. And I agree, except it's more so directed at my own brain telling me like, this is what everybody wants or this is what everybody expects.
Your inner corporate manager needs to settle down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like when you really think about the vacuum concept of it, sure, if you're approaching just one thing and you're putting it out there, that kind of limits you to the other possibilities that there would be.
I think it's okay to start there, though.
Yeah.
With one thing,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
as to not overwhelm yourself. Adrian said, I remember the first time putting stuff out there, I was so worried I'd be overwhelmed. Nope. It seems to adjust to your level of being able to handle it.
Oh, that's so good. Yes.
That is good, and I agree with that. If I think about me a decade and some change ago, and what things looked like and felt like and what I was able to handle versus what I'm able to handle now. If my career had looked then like it looks now, I probably would have quit because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. And I feel like it does grow to the level that you're able to sort of manage.
Yeah, because that's the truth of it. Like, you start doing shows, and these are all great problems to have. You start doing shows and like nothing's happening and then you're creating more work and then nothing's happening and then something starts happening and then you start doing shows and you booked yourself for them or you're doing a virtual show or an in-person show and then next thing you know, you sell a bunch of pieces and then you're like, oh shit.
What do I do?
What do I do for the next show? Like now I have to create more stuff. And like, I think really it's good to get started off slow because you're going to want to ease into that position, right? Because we go into a lot of stuff with these preconceived notions of what's going to happen. And then we find out that it's actually not that hard. And you just course correct as you go. Kind of like what Adrian's saying here.
Cindy has a question. I'm struggling to stay motivated promoting my store, but not to be obnoxious about it. How do you stay motivated when nothing is happening?
So the way that I stay motivated, and this is a great question, Cindy, the way that I stay motivated when nothing is happening, where it feels like I'm in a vacuum, and trust me, it still happens a lot. it still happens a lot, is I post my stuff and I give myself a very, I guess it would be a very analytical way of seeing the promotional part of it, right? So it's like right now, every week I'm going to share something about my calendars, whether it's a blog, whether it's a social media post, whether it is in a video. Something is going to remind people, the deadline for the pre-orders is December 1st. Right now, for anybody that's listening to this podcast, order my calendar. Just go to rafiandklee.com. See, like that's me promoting my stuff. I don't see it as being obnoxious. Let's talk about that a little bit. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is that, somebody might run into that post, or somebody might hear you talking about, you're promoting your store, and they're going to forget. They have things to do that day. Maybe they heard it and they're like, oh, you know what? I'll go to it later. I'll check it out. Oh, she has the sale. Like, I'll check it out later. And then they forget. And I am always very, very grateful to people that remind me, because if it's something that I'm not interested in, it's not going to bother me. I'm just going to be like, okay, I just ignore it. But if it is something that I'm interested in, I want to be reminded.
That it's there?
That it's there. I want to be reminded in case I forgot. And if I did partake in it and did go, and then somebody reminds or whatever, that's not going to bother me either. I think a lot of us, when we're looking at that stuff, you got to think about it. People that are subscribed to our blog, subscribe to our blog. People that watch the YouTube videos is subscribed to our YouTube videos. People that, we're not sending out spam. People that follow us on social media, they follow us on social media. So if somebody gets upset because I post in my calendars, once a week, then that's on them. I'm like, great, okay,
Definitely.
bye. Because I want people that are interested in what we do, whether it's selling a calendar or not. You know what I mean? So it really falls into that place of like, part of not being in a vacuum is ruthlessly sharing who you are and what you do. Ruthlessly. Basically saying, you know what? I love myself so much that I am going to put it out there because I want people that love what I do and who I am to partake in what I do. And I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm not going to stay quiet about it. And that's my biggest thing when it comes to promoting myself. Like, I am here, damn it. And I'm going to tell you, look at this thing that I have. Now, that being said, the promotion isn't random. It's not just, hey, go to my store because I have art and jewelry. It is usually like there's a new series that I released. I just released a new calendar. I want people to get the calendar. We're going to have a virtual show. So like we're going to promote our virtual show more than once.
And even with the calendar, every time you posted about the calendar, the post was a slightly different facet of what's going on with the calendar.
Yeah.
Such as like, hey, check out this thing I just designed for the calendar. Check out this little fun bit that I'm including with the calendar. And so on and so forth.
Yeah, in fact, because I was thinking about next week, like, all right, I want to post the calendar again. And I'm thinking that for everybody, because I so appreciate everybody that ordered the calendar thus far. Like, we have sold half of the run that I was putting in for the pre-order. So like, I'm really, really grateful. And I was like, I could probably it'd be really cool to design a poster that will go with the calendar. I think I'm going to do that. And it's not going to add too much cost to the printing for the calendar. So I was like, yeah, I think I'll do that because that would be a really cool thing to do. So the next post, when I promote it next week, I'm going to be like, for everybody that ordered a calendar, thank you so much. I'm including this poster with it. And for everybody that wants it, like, this poster comes with the calendar, right? It gives me another thing to talk about when it comes to it. It was the same thing with our show. When we were promoting our show, had the ability to promote our exhibition many, many times because every weekend we were doing something new. We were playing music at one weekend. We were doing a live painting at one weekend.
A book reading.
And things like that. So it's thinking about it's thinking about ways to promote yourself and what you do, but it has to be something specific that you're doing that you're excited about. That's pretty much the way that I look at it, because then at that point it doesn't just feel like mindless self-promotion.
And if you share why you're excited about it, that also helps people understand why it might be exciting for them as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just as simple as saying, like, I'm really excited about this calendar because we have a bunch of fun, silly holidays to celebrate all throughout the year, right? So people that are looking for a place to be able to see those fun holidays and some empowering stuff are going to maybe think, oh, maybe this is the calendar for me.
This is the thing that I want. I want a motivational quote every month, and I want fun holidays to have fun with.
Onhand said, I feel like I'm not in a vacuum as much as I need to find the time to promote, make my art, and still run my life. It's growing. It's just slower than I want.
Well, appreciate that, because I mean, the fact is that if it's growing, then it's growing. Then you're heading in that direction. Obviously, you and I have had conversations on our Discord server quite a few times, and I know that you're not in it for the quick fix. You're in it for the long haul. A lot of times, the idea of finding time becomes very, very stressful. And the part of promoting yourself, right? Getting out, not so much being in that vacuum, but even getting out of that vacuum a little bit more by doing new promotional stuff, is that a lot of times when you look online at promotional stuff, it's like this time consuming shit that you're not even sure.
Where you're like, "Blah."
Yeah, exactly. And like really promoting is just word of mouth. It's just talking about something. So like it's deciding like, you know what, every Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to post something about the calendar, or at least once a week, I'm going to post something about the calendar. I've got this new art show coming up next weekend. I want to say something about it, or 2 weekends from now, I want to say something about it this weekend and the next weekend. And quite literally, it should take you like less than 5 minutes to post across the board.
Assuming you're posting the same update on all the channels.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. I keep it easy because basically it's somebody might miss it here, but catch it over here. Somebody might miss it there, catch it over here. I just want to update people on stuff. And mostly I want to, put it out there as a record for myself so I could see, I feel like a badass when I see myself promoting stuff. That being said, I've made it very, very easy for myself. Like I said, it takes me 5 minutes to post across the board. Usually when things are going a little bit slow, I tend to work on a new project to keep me going. And that goes back to Cindy's question. So I've got the calendars, they're being promoted, right? That's the analytical side. I'm going to promote it once a week. Now I'm off on this project, right? This is the next project that I'm going to promote, which for me is going to be the Me and It meditation series, right? So I'm going to do the Me and It's in a square, and they're going to be meditating, all different and goofy and fun and stuff like that. So that'll be something that I'm hoping to have ready by the time we do our virtual online show. So, my focus is on that. This thing is out there. It's doing what it needs to do. So my only focus on that is to like, all right, let me mention it again. Let me mention it again, because there is a limited date until people could order the calendar. So like, I'm going to mention it several times.
Adrienne said, I had a designer come into the booth I was selling from at an antique store, bought my whole booth, and I had to move out. That was a freak accident I wasn't ready for, and I had no backup to refill.
Isn't that great? It's both great and horrible when that happens.
Indeed.
I've had something similar happen. By the way, congratulations on that, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had stuff like that happen where like I have a really successful day, and next thing I know, I look up and like I barely have anything on the walls, and we have something scheduled the next weekend. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm taking out like 4 or 5 pieces to the next show.
Mm-hmm. And you always figure out when something happens like this, right? It is great. And then in real time, you figure out what you're going to do, because we can all speculate what we might do in that situation until we're blue in the face. But like when the time comes to handle it, We always do, right? Because
Yeah.
we're still here and we're still doing the art thing. Back to social media, we were just talking with the kids yesterday, actually, and kind of laughing about how sometimes when you overthink your posts, like those are the ones that get ignored. And then when you just like throw some stuff out there that you're like excited about because you were just having fun, like those tend to be the ones that get the traction. And we all kind of had a chuckle about it because it kind of tends to be true. And I think there's also something to be said for putting your focus, post across the board, but put your focus where you feel most good. Our Rogue Fam member, Corey, has really been on a journey this past year or two to figure out which platforms make him feel good
Yeah.
as opposed to feeling icky. And I would say primarily put your focus in those places where you don't feel icky or like you're drowning in overwhelm. And then just copy paste everywhere else and don't even worry about
That's
it.
pretty much what I do. I post on social media and then I copy my text and then I go to the other platforms and just do the same post. And that's the reason that it takes. I put Instagram is what I use. Instagram is my main place that I go
That's mine too.
to post stuff just because it's easy. And it really lets me lay out what I want to say. And then I go ahead and share it everywhere else. And the way that I share is just copy paste. I copy the text, go upload the picture or whatever it is on the next one and just paste the text and then move on to the next one and the next one. And like I said, I'm usually done within 5 minutes. Depends on the internet speed, honestly, whether it takes me like
True.
2 minutes or 5 minutes.
But I think really at the end of the day, the amount of traction that you're building has everything to do with the beefiness of your of your tires. And by tires, I mean like what you're putting out there.
The beefiness of your tires.
The more ways in which your stuff is going out there, shows, blogs, podcasts, social media posts, videos, yada, yada. Obviously, the more you're doing, the more traction you're going to be getting. But I guess the work there is to strike that balance between getting the traction and not being overwhelming on the promotional, like to yourself, I mean, not overwhelming yourself.
I'm curious. I'm going to throw a question out there to the rogues. How is it when it comes to your social media posting? Do you agonize over what you're going to post? Or is it just kind of you just post whatever it is that you're thinking about or feeling that day? Go ahead and let us know because I'm curious to see as far as like a statistic.
I'll answer your question while the rogues are typing their answers. I have historically agonized to great lengths over my posts. And it is something that I am working on. And anybody that follows me on Instagram knows this because I've talked about how I agonize and feel stressed out about it. And it's something I'm actively working on because I agree with your perspective. I agree with your approach. It doesn't come as naturally to me just because I've practiced a different way. So it's like little by little, I'm trying to get myself more to a place where I'm just putting it.
So what way is it that you would say that you've practiced? Charity said, I don't agonize, I just post. Yeah.
Well, I practice by doing, and I've been practicing saying what's in my brain jar in the simplest way possible. So that's like one aspect of it because I used to write like a novel every time I posted, and then Twitter won't let you do that. So once I was on Twitter, like I had to try and get it like, shortened. But really in all things, I'm trying to say things in the simplest way possible. That's like step one for me. And then if I have an idea, I guess I'm trying to post it before I talk myself out of it for one reason or another. Just like with everything, right? If you have an idea, just jump on it before you talk yourself out of it.
I mean, the truth is that a lot of times, like I post before I even think about it. That's one of the reasons that there's so many misspellings in my stuff because like I'll notice it later. So
okay, so let's read some of this. Charity says, I don't agonize, I just post. Congratulations, Charity. Adrian said, I joy again knows when I'm trying to be. I think that might have been a typo.
Yep. I think it becomes
I
whatever.
agonize when I'm trying to be organized about it.
Right.
Okay.
Or I joy again knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendell said no agony, sometimes just a lot more time editing than I expect.
Right.
Jay said I write at least 10 times more than I post. I constantly doubt that anyone is going to find it interesting. I
Yeah,
feel you, Jay.
isn't that interesting? That is a very interesting thing.
Adrian said I didn't proof that. Lisa said, yep, serious overthinking posts and what all can be seen in the picture, time consuming.
Got it.
Valorf said a bit of both. I overthink my videos the most. My drawings I don't really overthink.
Got it.
On Hand says, I don't agonize and I have a list of ideas in case I don't have something at the moment. My highest engagement has been when I just say hi to everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Galefriend said, I post on Facebook miscellaneous type and include my art, but I have 2 Instagrams, one for art and one for fashion, and nothing else there.
Gotcha, Gail.
Adrian said, I agonize. Okay, Adrian had retyped that. Jay said, I agree with Klee. I'm so focused on trying to get everyone to understand that I end up with a novel. So we're trying, me and you are on the same journey of trying to say things in the simplest way possible. Sometimes I'll allow myself to just like brain dump in a ridiculous manner where it doesn't even make sense and then like try and make something out of it from there, like in a Google Doc.
Right.
Sue said, we have a shop, so sometimes I agonize over the photo of a certain thing to make sure it gets eyeballs on it. But I agree, sometimes the random posts get the most love. Marty said, I just post to show my work over time, but it's still small or crickets.
Yeah. I mean, there is, Marty, and this is something that we've talked about when it comes to that. Expect the crickets. Expect the crickets, but also don't forget to include your personality.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Tyler said, sorry, cat attack. I'm a little bit of both. Sometimes I can just post and type out what I want to say. Other times I freeze up and just throw the post out there. I'm with you, Tyler. And I swing. It's a pendulum, right? Jenny said, Instagram is easy, much easier as more posts went up. P.S. As long as I don't get in my head about it.
Yes,
that's the trick.
That's the trick.
Adrian said, Rafi's typo spirit animal.
Yep.
Jenny said, it's the hashtags for me. I can get tripped up on hashtags too. Sometimes I don't even use hashtags at all. And sometimes I'll do like 3, but I don't try to do like more than 3.
I will say this, when it comes to hashtags, there was a lot of videos and information out there about hashtags, and they overdid it. It was like the more hashtags you had, the better. You're honestly better off just kind of like throwing a hashtag that you think is fun and relevant, and maybe one that you think is, but like keep it real
like
simple.
One
or 2 hashtags at most.
In fact, the days of like just littering your page with hashtags is long since passed because now algorithms are flagging people for that.
For too many hashtags. And honestly, you gotta remember, hashtags are used not necessarily to promote your stuff. They're used like if there is a hashtag that says hashtag inspire a smile, right? And let's say that we get the rogues, all the rogues, we take a day and we decide that we're going to go out there and share our art, do a scavenger hunt of small pieces of art. And we like organize this like worldwide thing, right? And we call it hashtag inspire a smile. And anytime you guys posted anything, you would put hashtag inspire a smile. And then if anybody found the artwork, we would have instructions on the artwork. Please post this with hashtag inspire a smile. Then you could go on there, you could look at the page that is hashtag inspire a smile, and then all those posts would be on there. And that's really the best way to use hashtags, to be honest with you.
It's like labels on file folders.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I think of it. Tish said, I no longer post on social media. I don't go there anymore, really, so I feel like a hypocrite if I post and don't read anyone else's posts.
I mean, Tish, it's not about, like I've said before, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. You can do whatever the hell you want, but I don't post for other people. I post for myself.
As a
because
record.
I'm keeping a record of my journey. But also I know that there's people out there that want to follow that journey, that genuinely are interested in me. And usually it's not people that I know personally. It's people that I develop a relationship with online. So that's really the truth of it, and it's easy to get all caught up into social media bullshit, but really you just got to delete delete and block things that you don't want to see. Get rid of people. Listen, when it comes to social media, if you need to delete and block your family and friends because they think of you in one way and you're trying to present yourself as who you believe you genuinely are, and you're afraid that they're going to be like, well, blah, 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 block and delete them. Block and delete them. I don't care who they are. Block and delete them so that you could be genuine with yourself when you post on social media.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day with social media, like we've all been trained into some really destructive, toxic habits. And I think like I stick with it, even though some days I want to be like, I'm done. Because I know that it's really a matter of weeding my mind garden of those toxic habits and beliefs when it comes to social media, and just really knowing that I'm in control of what I do there.
Social media, I mean, that's the problem, is that there's a lot of people out there selling like how to gain followers and all that stuff. And you see it on YouTube too. And not to say that everything like that is discouraging or like just fake, but there's a lot of people that are desperate to become Insta famous or YouTube famous, and they are looking for the hack. And so a lot of times it's like looking at the algorithm, and you're like kind of chasing the algorithm and trying to figure out, and there's a bunch of people out there that are talking, there's stuff out there that's legit, that is not going to get you to chase the algorithm. They're going to talk about the emotional value of what you're putting out there. But then there's stuff that's like, it just becomes work. Like I've never looked at the algorithm on anything, not my YouTube videos, not social media. I do not look at the algorithm. I don't care. It's not about that for me. And because when I do, then I get caught up in this very toxic relationship with social media. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't have time for that. I have art to create. I have inspiration to spread. Like, I don't have time to be chasing the analytics or the social media.
Yeah. I'm trying to like work my way back to like a positive experience. And listen, if it's not a positive experience for you,
then
you do what you want.
You do what you want.
You're a grown ass person.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like this podcast, I'm going to share my opinion based on how I approach it. But like there's two of us here, and we don't approach it that way. We don't approach it the same way.
Right. We have very different approaches. Now, I am migrating my approach more into the Rafi realm because I feel that it's healthy for me as well.
I mean, for me, it's a lot more fun. I've taken all the bullshit that comes with sharing your stuff out there. I've taken all that expectation away, and it just makes it a lot more fun for me. I get excited looking at my social media and like scrolling back and seeing the stuff that I've done this year, the fixing the apartment, the room upstairs for the kids, or like doing an art show, or just having a random day in the studio. Like I love capturing those moments and sharing them. And then there are people out there that love those moments too. They're living vicariously through my experience. So they're rooting for me. And I love being able to share that with those people.
And our fellow creative community. Like Gail is saying, I like to use my IG as a kind of gallery of my work. I have people who really care and like to follow my journey. It's so nice. I love your fashion Instagram, Gail friend, and Ginny. Actually, mostly the rogues and like really cute nature stuff.
That's
is what I follow,
yeah.
And like science stuff. And I've also been more deliberately curating what I'm seeing when I go on there. Because I don't spend a lot of time on there, and I don't want to see anything that's like going to make me feel bad. So I'm really following like the rogue community, and I really do love seeing your posts when I'm posting a thing, and then I check and see what y'all are doing.
Kelly said, I just do it when I remember. Kelly, that's where I'm at too. Sometimes I'm just too busy to post anything, and I don't think about it. And a few days will go by, and I'll be like, oh shit, let me capture this, right? Because I'm busy doing other things that maybe I don't really want to, I don't want to remember it. So I'm not going to post on social media every time I have a yard day. If there's something extraordinary that happens on a yard day, then I might post something.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jenny said my thing is that I love hashtags. It feels good in my brain, like potato chips, and I can't have just one. That's kind of awesome, Jenny. Like, do
I
you
think you
get
should do it then. Just keep doing what you're doing.
do you get the good feelings out of like thinking of which hashtags are like applicable and clever? Because I do know that neat feeling of like, ooh, this is a really great hashtag for this.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty good problem to have, I think.
Charity said, I have the same problem. I find all the misspellings and typos after I post, but if I don't just post, I won't post. Yeah. I've gotten to the point that, like, if it's really, like, not, where it's, like, bad,
Then you have the edit button.
then I'll edit. You can't edit on Twitter, though. So, like, I just leave it. I'm like, whatever. Because I'm not going to repost this thing. Like, I don't care. But I might re-edit on, but because I share it, a lot of times what happens is that I just share the one full of typos. And then if I'm done sharing the one full of typos and I see the typo, then I just leave it. Because I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to do this whole process again.
Anhan said, I try to show that I care about my audience, but that's only while I'm sharing what I would find interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because your audience, the truth is that your audience is your people. I think one of the misconceptions when it comes to putting your stuff out there is that people have this expectation of you because this is what you do, right? And I think, honestly, that's based on a lot of inauthenticity in trying to get popular, right? A lot of these platforms, it's like, I'm going to post this thing because it's popular, or I'm going to do these kind of videos because they're popular. And then you see people just completely burn out on it because they're playing a persona, and then their audience, because everything is tailored towards that persona, their audience is used to that. That's what they're there for. They're not there for them. They're there for this imaginary character that they've created. And then they burn out on it and they don't want to do it anymore. And I think that a lot of us have taken that and think that that's the reality of it. The truth is, if you're posting the things that you love and you're just being you, then there's no acting that needs to happen. You can post anything you want. Your favorite food, whatever it is that you want, as long as it's not as long as you're posting it for yourself and you're not posting it because you're like, oh, I'm going to get all these likes. Because, yeah, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. I basically did a post the other day where it was like, I might as well have like thrown something over my shoulder and just it stuck on Instagram. And then next thing you know, like everybody loved it. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I spent 10 minutes posting another day because I was like, this is gonna
that's a lot for you.
I know it's a lot. Everybody's gonna love this, and like it got the least amount of like responses that I've ever gotten. And I just don't care,
Adrian said, I posted going bowling so people could see that I have some other interests. Yes, that's what we call the whole person approach.
The whole person, yes.
To your level of comfort. For me, I think that some people just buy my jewelry because they like it. And some people just listen to our songs without knowing who we are because they just like them. But by and large, people listen to our music and buy our art and jewelry because they like us. And so because we've established relationships with our communities on YouTube and on social medias, then, you want to buy stuff from people that you like.
And you guys...
So give people the opportunity to know who you are in those ways, like that you like bowling.
It's so much better. It's just so much better to just be a whole person and be genuine. And like, essentially, like instead of looking at social media as this like place where I can market my art, it's just looking at social media as this place where like you might be able to meet some like-minded people. And really your art and what you do post is like your way to qualify them. Like if they are following you, then there's got to be similarities. And I'm like, that's so great. Because like our community, the people that we have on social media and like our rogues and stuff, man, I could not, there is no way that I would have been able to curate such an amazing creative group. Like,
right?
And honestly, I think that the reason that the rogue artist community came together the way it did was because we just didn't have time to not be real. Like that's a lot of work. That's exhausting.
I don't have the bandwidth or the skills for it either.
Yeah. And because of that, we have like an amazing group
Yeah,
of people
of genuine people.
that are more than just they're our friends, you
Yeah.
know, and like that's the way that I look at social media. I don't look at it as just a place to promote my stuff. I want to share the stuff that I'm doing, the stuff that I'm excited about, because we cultivated a group of people that might be interested in it, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what you want to go for, at least in my opinion. I'm not going to tell you what to think.
Hi, Fried. Fried said, I'll slam the like button for that, Rafi and Klee. Thank you. Zara said, yeah, I follow my gut and do me. That's why it's important to do you. No burnout. If
Yeah.
you get too niche, the channel on YouTube gets stuck in a hole. Stuck in a hole.
Stuck in a hole.
Indeed. Nobody wants to be stuck in a hole.
Yeah. Bethy Bear says, I try to use mine just as a gallery, social media, and I can have bad relationship if I don't pay attention. Yeah. Yeah, you got to pay attention because it
To how you feel.
to how you feeling. Oh no. Oh no.
Feeling.
See, and this is where you qualify people, right? Because like here we have a podcast. We're talking about our feelings, and there's gonna be people out there that are like, feelings.
What does that have to do with
What
getting
kind of mamsy-pamsy bullshit is this? You know, and that's it. We just unqualified that person. And
that's great because they can go find a different podcast that doesn't talk about feelings.
yeah, exactly. And that's the reality of it. That's why, like, I am fine with it if something doesn't get, you know, there are times where I'll post a video on YouTube and I'll notice that there's a subscriber decline, like people unsubscribe. And I'm like, that's fine, because they might have found one video and thought that we were like one way, and then watched another video and then we're like, oh, I don't agree with them. And I'm like, that's great. You know, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. I'm so childish when it comes to that. That's what we did when we were kids. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Yeah.
Is this how we're ending our podcast?
This is exactly how we're ending our podcast.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
I want to just, at the end of this, what I want to say is, like, if you're feeling like your art is in a vacuum, then really you have to take a look at yourself. I'm gonna get real hardcore here with some people, because there have been some comments that I'll get, or like questions that I'll get, that it's very clear that, like, all right, you know what, you're the problem. You are the problem, but you are also the solution. That's the beauty of it, right? Because there will be people that's like, well, I'm not really getting a lot of traction, and people don't, you know, I'm not really selling anything. And then in the same breath, they'll say, like, because I just don't like people. And I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. So you don't want to do this thing that you know is going to help you meet the people that are your people, but because you have this blanket statement that you don't like people, then you're basically alienating everyone. You're just alienating everyone. You're not even giving yourself the opportunity to be loved. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to make a connection, because you're just buying into some blanket statement, some bullshit statement. So what do you want? What do you want from your art career? Do you want to just, I'm going to purchase a website and I'm going to post random things on social media with my artwork, with no kind of story, no kind of connection, no kind of anything, and see what I get out of that? And then you get really frustrated because there is no human connection there. And the reality is that selling any kind of creation, anything, has to do everything with the human connection.
Yeah.
It really does. And at the end of the day, if you're looking at your promotion as this kind of thing that you have to do in order to be able to sell more, then you're, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion, you're looking at it wrong. If you're doing your promotion because you're like, I want to connect to at least one person that jives with me, that is into this thing, that is like me. I want to connect to a person that, like, I could have a debate with. I want to connect with people out there that might get excited about what I'm doing, but I could also get excited about what they're doing. You know, and it really is so different. It's so much more fun than doing well, I have a website and I have this and I have this and I've been putting a blog out there with all the things that you're supposed to put out there and nothing is happening. And it's like, then you're missing the point. You're missing the point. And again, then that means you're the problem. You're the one that's standing in your own way. And that's the reason that you feel like you're in a vacuum, because you're not being a whole person. You got to be a whole person.
Hats off. I could not have found a better way to say what you just said. I agree. And I would summarize that as, let's put the social back in social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's for. It's not called marketing media, even though everyone believes that's what it's for. It's really about that connection.
Yeah, it's making a connection with people. And, marketing media, that's what they want. Facebook, Instagram, all of those. They want you to pay for marketing. They want to promote it as marketing media. Marketing gurus out there that want to sell you a course on how to, become Insta famous or famous on whatever. They're going to treat it like marketing. And there is nothing that is more exhausting than marketing. That's the whole reason that my book, sure, it was about marketing, but it's mostly a book on behavioral science. Like that's what my marketing book is about. It's not really about marketing. It's about breaking down the concepts that are usually in marketing courses to its simplest reality of it's all about connection, because that's really what it is at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Clover said, by the way, thanks to connecting with my Cal community, I'm now the official Artist Alley Games director
for SAC Anime. That's awesome, Clover.
That's awesome, Clover. Congratulations.
Adrian said, kind of hard to be an artist with any hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not where we draw from, right? Zara said, I'm excited and scared at the same time, but I'm more excited than scared with people. I feel you on that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's the challenge. It's easy. To me, it's a cop-out. Oh, well, I just don't like people. That's a cop-out. I'm like, that is the laziest approach to life that, and I'm sorry if you are one of those people that don't like people. Well, to me, that's a really lazy approach, right? It means that you've met a lot of the wrong people. And maybe it's time to put yourself out there genuinely and not try to jump through hoops to get a lot of friends, but put yourself out there genuinely and only accept genuine people into your circle of friends, mm-hmm. and that's the reality of it. Mm-hmm. Tish said, you can't do things half-ass. You got to go in
with your full ass.
Yes.
We're going to whole ass this thing.
We're going to whole ass this thing.
Mm-hmm. And in order to whole ass a thing, you got to like it.
Yeah.
So I'll never do marketing.
No.
I won't. I just won't do it.
No.
But I will connect with folks.
And that's the thing, you guys. I've tried marketing. I've tried those things. I've tried having an email list for the sake of funneling and like all that stuff. And I'm like, I can't do it. It's not fun for me. And if I'm following the analytics of like, how much did I want to sell calendars. I'm excited about selling calendars. I'm excited about selling all the calendars, right? So that I don't have a bunch of calendars just sitting there that I haven't sold. I want them to be in people's homes. And so I'm excited about the calendar. I'm excited about what it could do for someone for the entire year. So I'm going to share it as many times as I can. But if I don't sell out on the calendars, it's no definition of success. It just means that like, okay, well, next year, maybe I need to just kind of be more excited about it. What am I going to create next year? It's like that kind of thing. Like you got to get excited about the stuff you're doing, and it's got to be fun. And most of the time, marketing stuff is just not fun. It's not fun. You know what's fun in marketing? Wearing a sandwich board and going around town and meeting and talking to a bunch of people and handing out flyers. You know what's fun in marketing? Being excited about a show or some new project that you're working on and really wanting to share it with, your community. Mm-hmm. That's what's fun about marketing.
Cameron's like, how's that 30-minute time segment's going?
I know, right?
It's going incredibly well, Cameron. So well that we have decided to extend it today. Bessie Bear said, I like persons, but not people. a distinction people fail to realize. So I'm ingesting that, and I'm saying it's a bad idea in general to generalize persons as people, because when you generalize persons as people, then you start to think of them in these generalized kinds of ways that breed contempt. And so
Everybody take a shot when Klee says generalized.
I try to not do that. I try to always think persons and never group humans together as people.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense, and it really depends. You know, we're dealing with semantics there, and that's
It
one
is
of those.
semantics.
It is semantics.
So you got to think of it however works for you.
Because you got to think about it like in a way where if it's something where you derive pleasure from saying, yeah, I just don't like people, you know, and you've got this distinction set up in your brain, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's more so along the lines of people that avoid meeting new people. You know what I mean? Like that just kind of like say it as a thing. For me, I don't like saying that because I know that I was very standoffish in the past. So for me, it's kind of one of those things that like I try to avoid because I know that I do have a personality that just doesn't want to deal with anybody and I just want to be left alone and da 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 and all that stuff. So like I try to avoid that. Yeah.
We've all been hurt and burned and let down and disappointed by another human at some point in our lives, maybe multiple humans. I used to hide behind I don't like people because the truth was that I was afraid of people and I was afraid of getting hurt and I wanted to protect myself. And the more I put myself out there, the less afraid I became and I'm happy for it because to me, people are the most interesting thing.
See, there we go. We just disqualified a bunch of people because we talked about our feelings again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really personally very happy to be not afraid of people and to be a lot less afraid of getting hurt because it's just not that easy to hurt me these days.
Yeah.
We all have things that kind of color our lens when it comes to interacting with other humans. And there are things, and you can choose to kind of maneuver through those and you can choose if you want to like work on those things or not.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it is all feeling and emotion, right? Words get used. Words are very limited in being able to describe something because a lot of times words have different meanings, you know, emotional meanings for different people. And in that process of communication, because like with Bethy Bear, I completely agree. Like I like persons, but not people. Boom. I could be like, get it. I got it. That makes sense to me.
When I think people...
I agree with that. However, when I think people, I think of like...
traffic? That's what I think of.
Yeah. Susan said 30-minute time segment times 2. I like it. Keep going.
Oh, and by the way, I mean traffic on the road, not internet traffic.
Yeah.
That's the image that comes to mind when I think people. I think Chicago Expressway. And then I'm like, ugh, I used to have to listen to classical music when I sat in traffic.
Cameron said, you guys are too funny. I dislike childish behaviors in adults, not people in general. Got it. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I love people because I get to love them. I get to help. I get to give. I get to share. So good. Yeah. I just don't like people in cars.
Traffic. Traffic. Yeah.
I love that one. Be like, I just don't like people in cars in front of me. Like
or behind me or on the side.
Or behind me or on the side, yes. All right. I think that was pretty good. I'm not sure if we really got to the heart of your art is in a vacuum.
Dude, we got to so many hearts. It's not even funny.
At the end of the day, put it out there. It's just part of the path that you're on, and ruthlessly share your stuff. That's what we talked about here. Is ruthlessly share your stuff. And hopefully, because I know Cindy had that question, hopefully, Cindy, we got to the heart of that because I know that that's difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not easy, you guys, and that's part of this whole damn challenge of being an artist is that like you're gonna face a lot of shit that's just not easy, and you're a champion for doing it. You're a champion for getting through it. You're a champion for falling on your face and picking yourself up. You're a champion for getting it wrong. You're a champion for getting it right. I mean, you're just a champion for doing it and not avoiding it altogether. So yeah, this podcast, listening here, you're all fucking champions. That's just take that with you. I was gonna say take that to the bank. I know that was
take
not...
that to the bank. Cashing in my brave ass mofo currency today.
Cindy said you did good. Oh, thank you, Cindy.
On hand said, I feel like you made the point that we have the control to move our art out of a vacuum. So good
Awesome.
talk.
Yes, thank you. That is actually a very concise way of saying it.
Get
Thank
in
you.
the arena.
Yeah, get in the arena.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to thank the Rogues for being here. You guys are awesome. These podcasts are always so much fun with you here and your insight and your questions and just bringing up. I feel like when we do this with the Rogues, you get to that, you look at an issue from 360 degrees versus just that one mentality where you're staring at it. And I think it's super helpful, not only to everybody listening to this, but to us as well. So thank you for being here. And for everybody at home listening to this, thank you guys for being here. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I totally adore you. And if you like this podcast and you want to listen to more of us, we do this weekly. Go ahead and click wherever it is that you are that follow, or I don't know what platform you're listening to this on. So whatever you need to do to follow us, we're here every week. So go ahead and do that. And other than that, I would say it's time to say goodbye. You want to say goodbye, Klee?
Good day.
Adios.